Welcome back to another episode of College Hockey Talk. We are here today with rising senior and captain of the UConn women's hockey team, Natalie Snodgrass. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My first question is, how's everything going and what are you doing to prepare for this upcoming season?
Quarantine has been kind of a whirlwind. Not much going on over here in Minnesota, but luckily, my family's kind of fortunate. We kind of have like a home gym, so I've been able to kind of maintain my strength and conditioning and workout regimen throughout the whole process here. So yeah, hopefully when I go back, I'm in pretty good shape.
That's great. And like I mentioned earlier, you were named captain of the team this year. How does it feel to be named captain and what type of leadership do you hope to bring to UConn this upcoming season?
Yeah, it's such a privilege, especially since it's team voted. It's definitely an honor to be recognized from your teammates and your coaches. So it's definitely a really good opportunity for me to kind of be a leader and step up this year. I think personally for me, I have a lot of expectations for our team, especially with how we kind of ended our season last year. So yeah, it's going to be a fun one if it happens, hopefully.
Have you heard anything from Hockey East or the coaching staff about what the upcoming season might look like?
Um, we have not, no. We just, there's absolutely no word on like whether it's going to happen. I've definitely heard from other girls around different leagues, and they don't have as good as news. So I don't know what Hockey East is going to do, but yeah, it's just kind of a waiting game right now.
Well, let's get back before UConn. You grew up in Eagan, Minnesota, and as we know, Minnesota is the state of hockey. But how did you, in particular, start playing hockey?
So I'm the youngest of two others. I have an older brother and sister. My dad also played D3 hockey, so he thinks that he's like the hockey god of the family. So basically, when I was born, I was just kind of forced into the sport. I didn't really have a choice, but it worked out pretty well for me.
Did you have any favorite player growing up?
um, oh God. Um, Growing up, I really like as a young kid. I remember really liking Derek Bugard, just because he was such a fighter. And then when he passed, it was obviously really sad. But no, I looked up to like guys in the NHL, but also females like Natalie Darwitz because she lived down the street from me. So she went to the Olympics when she was younger, and I think she was a great role model for me as well.
And you played for Eastview High, where you were a four-time MVP and the school's all-time leading scorer. Describe your time there and what was that like for you?
Eastview time was great. I played on my varsity team since I was seventh in the seventh grade, so I have good 6 years of it. No, I definitely grew like a such an appreciation for my coach, Herb Harvey. He stuck with me for that whole time, and he also had my sister for another 6 years. So they're a big part of my life, and they definitely helped me get to where I am today. Yeah, loved it.
And you also got to play for the under 18 team for the USA, where you won gold in 2015 and 2016. What were those experiences like for you?
Yeah. So my first years of 2015, I actually didn't even make the team. It was kind of a lucky draw for someone unfortunately got hurt, and so they called me up right before the tournament began. And um, I was like 15 at the time, and I think I was just way over my head and a little intimidated. But um, winning gold on home soil was like one of the best feelings, and I didn't even have that much experience playing. So I think going back to next year, I definitely had that confidence and that comfort under my belt. So the tournament in 2016 was a blast. It was in Canada, so we were going against the home crowd, and um, I had some success there too. So that was pretty cool.
And you also scored one of those game-winning goals against Canada in overtime. Describe that moment, not only scoring the game winner, but winning that tournament for your country.
Yeah, so I'm not a person who likes overtime at all. Like I get pretty nervous and pretty anxious, but we were playing 4-on-4, and my coach just kind of said go, and it was definitely a right place, right time goal. Caleb Barnes, defenseman, sent a great shot, and the big fat rebound was just landed right on my stick. So all I had to do was hit it in the net, and I managed to do that. So yeah, that was crazy. Seeing like the Canada crowd silent, and then your very tiny little parent section go like nuts. It was one of the coolest moments I've ever had.
Well, that's awesome. And how did those experiences, not only playing for the under 18 team, but playing for Eastview, help you prepare for college hockey in the future?
Yeah, I think both experiences kind of just, you rack up your resume, and you kind of just do what you can to fit in and make a difference on the college team. I think playing at the international level kind of gave me a little heads up into what college hockey was. It's definitely faster and stronger. So, um, I had a little bit of a head start, but no, it's still like an adjustment period when you get to college, but luckily for me, it was a little easier adjustment.
And did you play with or against anyone in those international tournaments that was like who was the best player that you played against or for or with in those international tournaments?
Um, so playing against, I, she was the captain of Canada, and I didn't really know her at the time, but she went to Minnesota her freshman year, and she was a year older than me, and she roomed with one of my really good friends, Patty Marshall. And when I was in high school, I would actually go visit her. So yeah, no, I grew up to um, be really good friends with Lindsay, and then I ended up actually getting to play against her when she transferred to Boston College. So that was pretty fun too.
And talk about your recruiting process and what made you decide to go to UConn.
Yeah, so like I said, I have an older sister, and she committed to UConn as well. She played 4 years there, and so when I was in, middle school, high school, I would obviously go visit her for Thanksgiving and watch her games. And I think Connecticut was just the school that I felt most comfortable around because I was there so much. And I definitely knew I wanted to go out east to just kind of change up the scenery. And so I was definitely interested in other schools, but I think Connecticut was just like that homey feeling. So um, yeah, when I made my decision, it was just kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, and some people might not know this. Like you mentioned before, you had an older sister that played for UConn and an older brother that played for Colgate. How did they help you not only during the recruiting process but playing Division One as well?
Yeah, so my sister definitely paved the way. I didn't really know like if I was going to play college hockey until I got my first recruiting letter, and she definitely helped me with the whole process, and because she did the whole touring of schools, and so she made it a lot easier. And my brother actually played juniors for 2 years, so he's 3 years older than me, but he was actually going into his freshman year a year before me. So that was pretty funny, and I think he even had the opportunity to maybe go to UConn. He was looking into it, but he chose Colgate instead. So, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
they're great role models for me.
What's it like to play under your coach, Chris McKenzie? What's he like as a coach?
Coach Mack is unlike anyone I've ever had as a coach. My whole coaching staff is kind of brings like a different element. Coach Mack is kind of the goofy goon, like optimist kind of guy, and just wants to keep everyone positive and full of energy. And no, he makes practices and games so much fun. And then Casey is like disciplined, focused, like come on team. And then Caitlin Parker is kind of the mediator between the two. So it's a good balance for sure.
And in your freshman season, you played fantastic. You led the team in both goals and points. Even with those great numbers, what do you think was the biggest adjustment you had to make for playing college hockey?
Oh gosh. I think for me, um, I think just playing with my teammates, I was definitely a little intimidated. I spent like throughout high school, I had a set line with girls that I grew up with and were really comfortable with. And then coming to UConn, you never know what kind of line you're going to be on. You could be on playing with one person to never seeing them again, you know? So it was just kind of adjustment to get chemistry going, but no, I found a lot of success with a lot of different girls, which set me up for great futuristic plays too.
And also during your freshman season, your team beat the #1 team in Hockey East, Boston College, to bring your team to the championship game. Talk about that game and what was it like to upset one of the best teams in the country?
Yeah, so that was a that was a really anticipated game. So it was definitely, I think we were playing them in the Hockey East tournament.
Yeah, I was at Matthews.
Yes, yeah. So I think like we had the banquet the day before, and I remember like our seniors being like, "Oh, we've only been here once, like whatever," and all the rest of my team has never been to a Hockey East banquet. So we were kind of like culture shocked in a sense. We were just really happy to be there, and um, no, going against BC, we knew that was going to be a big one, and I think we just came out like absolutely nothing to lose, and when we ended up upsetting them, that was like the coolest moment. Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the best games of my career.
And the one question I want to ask you about your sophomore year is you got your first hat trick against Holy Cross. I have to ask, what was it like to score a hattie against a pretty decent team in Hockey East?
Yeah, that's definitely exciting. You know, you see some other girls do it in different leagues, and you just kind of are hunting for it all season. And for it to finally happen, it was just like it was like a relief. But no, it was good to, my teammates were like the best supporters, and they knew I wanted it, so it was good to do it with them.
And talking about this past season, UConn lost their last 3 games before the Hockey East playoffs. What was the message heading into the playoffs and before that series against BC?
Yeah, so we had senior weekend before the tournament, and you know all our family was there, and we just got swept. We were just absolutely just not doing good, and so I think we just kind of sat down before the week started, before going into playoffs, and we just literally just kind of said, "Everybody, get it together. Like this is do or die," and it's kind of the moment that we've all been you know, playing for. And granted, it's like playoffs is a completely different season, and that's kind of what we said too. So whatever happens in the past doesn't matter. And it seemed to work out pretty well.
Now, speaking of that Boston College series, your team did win that, beating BC in the final 2 games with your goalie only allowing 1 goal in those 2 games. Then your team went on to beat New Hampshire. Talk about that Hockey's playoff run and what your team will take away from that experience for next year.
Yeah, that series was super disciplined. I think the biggest takeaway or like biggest factor we kind of focused on was defense, and BC always brings their A game, and they're really skilled offensively. So in practice, you know, we really hounded defensive zone that entire week. So I think that that weekend we only let in or like let allowed sorry um, just like a few shot attempts each period. So no, that was really great. We definitely helped Morgan Fisher, and she came up huge for us. Granted, we lost the first game in that BC series, but to come back and to win and take the series and move on to New Hampshire, that was just kind of like the icing on top.
And what was it like playing New Hampshire in the semifinals, and what challenges did that team bring you?
Yeah, so New Hampshire always kind of gives us some trouble. They play a different style than some other teams in Hockey East. So I was kind of nervous, honestly. They've obviously upset good teams as well, so it was going to be a good game. I think that the freshman year experience of playing BC, you know, kind of just gave us some calm vibes, and we just kind of went out and played our game, and yeah, we played really well that game.
And obviously, unfortunately, UConn lost in the championship game against Northeastern. What did you take away from that game, and what do you think that loss will help you for next year?
Yeah, I think it's all just, you know, experience under your belt. It's tough how that season ends, and that's how the seniors kind of put that chapter by them. But for the younger players, it's just kind of an eye-opening moment of, you know, what can happen next year.
And speaking of Hockey East, what's your favorite arena to play in besides Frady's Forum?
Um, Probably Northeastern Matthews. That jumbotron is huge, though.
And is there any particular hockey player you try to model your game after?
um, um, hmm. Uh, for the women's side, I really love Kendall Coyne's style of play. Granted, I will never be as fast as her, but anytime she gets the puck, she's dangerous and she wants to take it to the net. And I just think that that's how you score goals. Granted, they're not pretty, but no, there's a reason why she's one of the best players in the world.
And back to some USA hockey. This past season, you got to play in the under-22 series against Canada. Talk about that experience and what was it like to play against and with some of the best players, college players in the country?
Yeah, I think that whenever you get the opportunity to try out or even just get invited to a USA hockey camp or tryout, it's just a tremendous honor. And last year when I got the chance to represent U22, it's a lot of girls that I have played with in the past, but I never really get to play with them on a regular basis. So it's always a lot of fun to catch up and with some of the best girls in the country, and then against Canada's best. It's like exhilarating. It's no, it's always so much fun. It's like such a rivalry that you get hurt if you lose, and you just take so much pride if you win. So it's always fun.
Now we're getting to the segment of the podcast I call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions. And my first one is, what music do you listen to that pumps you up before a game?
Oh gosh. I'm so bad at music. Everybody knows that. I'm like a techno person, which is kind of funny, but if I'm not on the aux cord, our teammates listen to the Big Booty remixes, which is kind of our jam.
And you also get to go to school with Jonathan the Husky, the mascot of UConn, who's an Instagram star. He has 30,000 followers on IG. Have you ever got the chance to meet him, and what is he like?
Oh my God, he's the cutest boy ever. He wished us luck before our playoff run. He's definitely not that interested in people, but anytime you see him, you're literally starstruck. So funny.
Now, we've talked to some players on the men's hockey team about the best pizza around stores, and the consensus answer was Blaze. But I have to ask you, what's the best pizza in stores?
You can't go wrong with Blaze. Another top competitor probably would be Sergeant Pep's. No, they're good.
And what is your favorite class at UConn?
That's a good question. I have so many, I think my favorite class that I've ever taken. Oh God, this should be such an easy question. It's definitely one with a lot of my teammates. I think that I took communications with a lot of girls.
That's my major, so.
Yeah.
You also said that Grey's Anatomy was your favorite TV show on the USA Hockey website. Who do you think from that show would be the best hockey player?
I think Avery, maybe. Maybe. That's a weird question, but yeah.
And the last non-hockey question is, who is the funniest on UConn women's hockey?
Oh, definitely me. No, I'm just kidding. I think someone who always makes me laugh is Siobhan Lacey. Yeah, I can go on and on about her, but yeah, yeah.
We'll give her a shout out.
Yeah.
And back to the hockey questions. My one I want to ask is, what is your advice for young people trying to make it to Division I college hockey?
I think something my dad kind of instilled in me was you can always control your work ethic. You can't really control other things. Some people may hate you as a player, and some people might just respect you on how hard you work. So put your head down and just grind it out. I think if you stick with it, good things will happen.
And you've scored many goals in your career. What's your favorite one that you can remember?
At UConn or just anytime?
Anytime. Let's try
anytime. That. Okay. I think I think my favorite goal that I've ever scored was my senior year of high school at the Minnesota State tournament. We were losing, but I scored in the state tournament, and my student section went absolutely nuts. It was maybe one of the coolest goals I've ever scored.
And the final question I want to ask you is, what's your favorite hockey memory at UConn?
My favorite memory, I think it might have to be my freshman year against BC in the Hockey East quarterfinals. Or no, yeah, the tournament. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I wish you and your team best of luck for next year, and hopefully I get to see you guys play in person.
Yeah, thank you again so much for having me. It's exciting being one of the first people on the podcast, and I'm excited for where you take it.
Yeah, we're going to have some more UConn players coming on. We have Tomasz Romashka coming on, so get ready for that.
Perfect.
So
That'll be
have a
fun.
nice day.
You too.